I sold my A7 IV for the A7V, and I don't regret it at all. Now, the kind of shooter that you are will determine whether or not this camera is a worthy upgrade for you, but let's dive into some of the reasons why I don't regret this purchase, and hopefully it can make your decision a little easier. So for starters, I am a true hybrid shooter, and I think that the A7V was made specifically for us. Now, before purchasing the A7V, my Sony lineup was the A7 IV, the FX30, and the A7S III. And those three cameras served me well for a very long time because the A7S III was my tried and true dedicated video camera, specifically for low light situations. The FX30 was a great B cam for video, and then the A7 IV was my hybrid workhorse. I've used it as an A cam, as a B cam with the FX30 or A7S III, and I've also taken tons of headshots, graduation photos, event photos, travel photos, and so much more with the A7 IV. But I always felt like it fell a little short in the video department, specifically in those low light situations, which is a very common environment for me as I shoot a lot of running gun videos in nightclubs. I shoot a lot of performances and just events in dimly lit rooms that don't allow for me to add my own lighting. So finding out that the A7V had a dual ISO of 800 and 8000, I was sold, because I have often found myself bringing both the A7 IV and the A7S III with me, where I'll be capturing photo and video, but needing the capabilities of a low light camera like the A7S III with the dual ISO of 640 and then 12,800. But now, since owning the A7V for a few weeks, it has proven to be an even better versatile hybrid workhorse than the A7 IV because of these new low light capabilities. Now I can quickly jump from photo to video and capture well lit footage without having to ever reach for a second camera. Another feature that I like about the A7V that I think it beats out the A7 IV in is being able to shoot 4K 60 frames per second uncropped. And if I knew I needed to film a music video that required that, or to film an event in 60 frames per second, my A7 IV just wouldn't cut it for me. Or I'd have to be very selective about the lenses that I brought with me to account for that crop that the A7 IV has when shooting in 60 frames per second. Now with the A7V, I can shoot in 60 frames per second with no crop and without having to switch cameras. So I've been leaving my A7S III home now and grabbing the A7V more. The goal is to be more effective and efficient, and I feel like the A7V allows me to do that. The next thing that I really appreciated was the dynamic active stabilization that is now available within the Sony A7V. Having an option to shoot handheld now, and I know this is a stretch because it's not going to be the same as a gimbal, but this new dynamic active stabilization works really, really well. And it's, to me, better than the active stabilization that was the highest option within the A7 IV. And it works just as good with third-party lenses as it does with native lenses. So I find myself going for shots handheld now that I probably would have never tried with my A7 IV before. Now, I will say keep in mind that this setting does crop in a bit, so it is something to keep in mind when choosing lenses to use this feature. So I often use my 16-35 GM1, and it's been amazing. Now, this next feature, I know some people didn't have this problem, and that's amazing. But my A7 IV had an issue with overheating on multiple occasions. And it was always something that was unwarranted. You never knew when it was gonna happen. Some days it would make it through a hot day or a hot shoot, or a shoot that lasted a really long time. And then other times it would just overheat. It happened to me a few different times. Once at a music video, where we were inside, it was a studio, but it was kind of hot in there and it overheated. But the A7S III, however, kept shooting. I had no problems with that one. So I had to wait until the A7 IV calmed down to start that one back up. So that was something that I was definitely looking forward to seeing a change in with the A7V. And so far, I haven't had any issues. And I live in Florida and it's hot. So being outside, doing a combination of photo and video and running this camera for a really long time, I haven't had any issues so far. And so for that, I'm thankful. And speaking of running the camera for a really long time, the battery life, for whatever reason, seems to be a lot better with the A7V. I don't know how or why, but I know if I look at my FX30 too long, it starts to die. And the A7 IV wasn't terrible with battery life, but it is nice to see that the A7V can run even longer than the A7 IV did. So to not overheat and to have extended battery life, again, two things I definitely appreciate. Now, another feature that I didn't actually know that I would even need would be the articulating screen. I know that some other Sony cameras offer this, and it never felt like something that I just needed to have, so it just never really appealed to me. But since shooting photos with it, I actually do appreciate it a lot. There are some moments where you're trying to grab a shot and you're in an odd, awkward position. So being able to use this articulating mirror now to be able to see what's happening if my camera's off to the side and, you know, I'm on the opposite side of it, I can kind of move the screen in a way that I couldn't move the A7 IV. So again, it wasn't something I was looking forward to. I didn't even know I would need it because it wasn't that big of a deal to me, but it is something that I do appreciate now that I do have that as an option. Another feature that was added to the A7 series, the A7V, that I appreciate is the fact that they added an extra USB-C port, and one that actually offers high-speed data transfer. I never used the micro USB port on the A7 IV, so it's cool to have an extra USB-C because almost everything I use has some kind of USB-C connection to it. So we'll see what I end up using the extra port for. But I'm glad that it's a USB-C because, again, I never used the micro USB port before. So for some things that I would say that you should note, the A7V shoots and log in a very different way than it did with the A7 IV. The menu actually looks more like the FX30 on the A7V than it does the A7 IV. So with the A7V, there's no longer the log picture profile PP8 option when you want to shoot and log. The process is now a little different. So what you'll now do is go into the shooting tab, head over to image quality, and scroll down to log shooting setting. Turn that on, then scroll down one notch to turn on S-Gamut 3 Cine, S-Log 3. You'll then turn off embed LUT file, head over to the exposure and color tab, move down to color/tone, and select S709 so that you can monitor with color on your screen. You can also add custom LUTs and monitor with those LUTs in camera, which is cool. And if you are also a hybrid shooter, I highly recommend that you save your photo and video settings to your camera so that the proper settings that you need are only a twist or a turn away when you need them. So I have my photo settings saved to the option 1, as well as my 24 frames per second log shooting settings for video. So whenever I need to quickly switch back and forth between the two, I just turn the knob from photo to video or video to photo, and I'm good to go. All of my settings are locked in and ready to go. Now, to wrap all of this up, I am not an impulse buyer, so there was a lot of research done before purchasing this camera, and I totally and completely believe that it's a worthy upgrade, especially if you are, like I mentioned, a hybrid shooter that relies on both video and photo capabilities. If you are just looking for, I would say maybe 80% photo capability and 20% video, this may not be a worth it upgrade for you because the photo settings on the A7 IV and the A7V are very similar. I don't think that one looks better than the other personally. So if you're just upgrading for photo settings, I don't think it's worth it. But if you are upgrading for the video settings, it is absolutely worth it. The 8000 ISO is worth it alone. The selling point for me definitely was the low light capabilities. But then there were so many other beautiful surprises once I got the camera and actually was able to get it in hand. So I hope this makes your decision a lot easier. Be sure to like, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things, and I will catch you guys on the next one. I appreciate you watching.